I heard saw a slightly different version of that before. It was saying you're born looking like your parents, die looking like your decisions. But either way, it is. I agree with Saida and the fact that you don't have control when you're a child about your environment and the way that you grew up and things that may happen to you, because in that situation you really don't have the power. You're relying on others to take care of you. But when you do become of age, I do think it's imperative that you take a look at where you are and look at the decisions and choices that you make to see if your life is a reflection of what it is you say that you want. And if not, then it's on you to seek information, seek guidance, to make the necessary adjustments so you can be on a track of where it is that you want to see yourself. That's it.
All right, Jay, a story to tell. You're on mute, just so you know, sir.
I think the comment is like, you know, the baton is being passed to you, and whatever decisions you make in your life can determine if you still look like your dad at the end of it. I mean, there are a bunch of things that can veer you away from the people who started you out, so, and we see it every day. You go in shopping centers, I'm sure you see people that you grew up with and you see them wearing the decisions they made, whether it was the high school quarterback, whether it was the cheerleader, whether you see people wearing these decisions. So I think it's like Eric pretty much laid the groundwork for, you have to take it to the next level. You have to be the person that grabs the baton and takes your family name to the next level, so that somebody's born looking like you. So that's what I got from it. Just carrying the torch.
All right, what about you, Shan Monet?
Well, I don't want to beat a dead horse. Everybody's points were pretty good, but I agree. I didn't really get to see the whole video because I came in towards the end. But we have to remember the one thing that we're going to leave behind is our family name. And you got to decide on what you want that to look like. If you have a whole bunch of illegitimate kids, you weren't there in the household to raise your kids, that's going to be your legacy. And you have to figure out what it is that you want your legacy to look like. And that's not like everybody said, when you're younger, yeah, you follow in the footsteps of your father. But as an adult, you have to decide on what you want your last name to look like. Because that's the only thing that's going to be powerful that you're going to leave behind. Unless you're a wealthy man, you have generational wealth, which most people do not. Your family name is probably the single most important thing that you're going to be carrying on. And it's so important that we make better decisions on what we want that to look like. That's all.
Has everybody seen both sides of the aisle? Just out of curiosity, have everybody seen like the good family and the child that turned out rotten, and the child that has grown up with all these unfortunate circumstances and has persevered and elevated himself into what we model as society and what we rear? Has everybody like actually experienced and seen both sides of the aisle?
Most definitely.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I just asked because I'm like curious because I don't know a lot of people have seen both sides.
I've not seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it. The thing that I wanted to bring up is this too, and that's a great point. But the other thing that you have to bring up is we focus on the dad, and let's stay on the man side. Let's leave the mothers out, let's leave the aunties out and all of that. But then so for me, my thing was like there was some good and bad that my dad did. You know what I'm saying? The bad was very bad and the good was very good. But the cool thing about my family is I had other men besides my father who could come in and model some of the things that were right and also instruct me on some of those things that I may have seen wrong that he did. So yes, that's a very poignant statement, and that's something that could happen. But also, you have to realize that at times there's other men, and I mean, I not only had uncles and stuff, but I have mentors, coaches, people like that. You know what I mean? I'm from Chicago, so I'm a product of the park. You know what I'm saying? And if anybody's from Chicago, usually you're gonna say what street you lived on, the number of streets you lived on, and then what park you represented, or the park that you always played in. And in that park, I had a lot of dudes that I looked up to, you know what I'm saying? Whether they were athletes, whether they were whatever, and they would kind of balance out some of the things that I had learned at home from my pops. And some of those things were really bad, and they were traumatic. And I did act out on them. But the coolest thing about it is the way it worked out is I always had somebody to catch me, grab my arm and be like, bro, you tripping. Like, you off. You know what I'm saying? So then, I was on my way to looking just like him. And then also, I believe the DNA piece has a lot to do with it too, whether you want to realize it or not. Behaviors and certain things like that can also be passed down in your lineage, because I also found out that some of the things my pops did, my grandfather did, and even my great-grandfather did as well.
Yeah, I like what you said, Eric, especially the idea of mentors, especially I think a lot of specifically minority communities are suffering from the absence of a father or the toxicity of one. And I also mentor outside of everything else. And I always tell the women that I work with is like, if their dad isn't present, make sure you get your kid in some sort of activity or connected with some sort of group that is going to actually act as a buffer for you, because they actually have a better chance of survival and stepping outside of the hood if they are ingrained around sturdy men. And I think that's sometimes more important than a father in the home, because at least you're getting the understanding of what it means to be a man, how to be respectable in your community, and not get so conformed into the drug life or the streets.
That's a really good point, Tracy. It's a really good point.
All right. Anybody else want to add anything else on?
Stay away from the stuff that makes you look less like your dad, man. Crack, lean, obesity.
You got to tread lightly with that, Jay.
Yeah, well, I mean,
not fat.
Yeah,
fat
see,
is
you was
fine.
about that. You opening up a whole,
And you know what? I think
and then you open up a whole nother can of worms, bro. Like, we was about to be done with that. Because everybody's face looked different when you said that.
No, what I'm saying is, I'm sure everybody has a family member, or you dealt with it yourself, but you'll gain weight to the point where you don't even look like family no more. Like, it just takes your whole face and just changes it into a different ethnicity, man. So, and crack, I mean, that's self-explanatory, but I digress.
I got you. I think Shan made a good point too. She was kind of thinking along the same lines as me. When someone asks you the question, like, what is it that you want somebody to remember you by as? So when you leave this earth, what do you want people to remember you as? And I think that's important as far as our decisions that we make. So even if we made some bad decisions, I think it's important to get back on track and understand the importance of how we lead this earth, and what type of change we want to do. I think we should be not making everybody better, but we should be encouraging people, and especially our children, man, because our children are the future. So I think it's very important for us to set some type of positive foundation for them before we leave, because our time can expire at any time. So decisions you make currently, tomorrow, within the next minute, can have a huge effect. So just think before you act, think before you speak, because words are powerful as well. So make sure you are, when that tongue is moving, make sure it's moving, saying all the right things, and not trying to bring people down.